When Robert Chen became Manhattan's most trusted tax accountant, wealthy clients relied on him to protect their fortunes. But when his gambling addiction and embezzlement schemes consumed him, he began poisoning clients who discovered his fraud and murdering witnesses who threatened exposure, turning tax season into a deadly calculation. Before starting the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Now, let's get back to the video. The late spring Manhattan afternoon cast long shadows through the windows of Chen and Associates, CPA, as Robert Chen organized financial documents and prepared tax software for what would become the most dangerous consultation of his 18-year career as New York's most respected certified public accountant and financial planning specialist. At 49 years old, Robert had established himself as Manhattan's premier accountant for high-net-worth individuals, specializing in complex tax strategies and offshore financial management that attracted wealthy entrepreneurs, entertainment industry executives, and international business leaders who required sophisticated financial expertise and absolute discretion about their business affairs. Robert's accounting firm occupied a prestigious office suite in Manhattan's financial district, featuring state-of-the-art computer systems, secure document storage facilities, and private consultation rooms where clients could discuss their most sensitive financial matters without concern for confidentiality breaches. His client roster included tech billionaires seeking tax optimization strategies, prominent attorneys requiring estate planning expertise, and international investors who needed guidance navigating complex regulatory requirements while minimizing their tax obligations through legal means. The interior of Robert's office reflected his commitment to financial precision and his understanding of wealthy clients' expectations for professional excellence and confidentiality, featuring custom-designed furniture, advanced financial analysis software, and walls lined with his CPA certification, advanced degrees in accounting and finance from prestigious universities, and testimonials from grateful clients whose financial situations had been dramatically improved through his expert guidance and strategic planning. But beneath Robert's reputation for financial integrity lay a dangerous combination of compulsive gambling, systematic embezzlement, and calculated murder that had transformed his accounting practice into a criminal enterprise where threatening clients and suspicious investigators met deadly fates. "Good afternoon, Mr. Chen," said Eleanor Morrison, his 3 o'clock appointment, and a 74-year-old philanthropist whose family foundation was worth over $60 million, and whose complex financial arrangements required Robert's expertise in managing charitable tax deductions, offshore investments, and estate planning strategies that would preserve her wealth for future generations. Eleanor had been Robert's client for 9 years, trusting him not only with her financial planning, but also with detailed knowledge of her business relationships and personal vulnerabilities that made her a valuable target for financial exploitation. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Morrison," Robert replied with the professional competence and financial authority that had made him legendary among Manhattan's wealthy elite, who viewed him as both accountant and financial guardian, capable of protecting their assets from government oversight and economic uncertainty. "I've completed the analysis of your foundation's tax optimization strategies for this year, and I have some recommendations about restructuring your offshore holdings that will provide significant tax savings while ensuring full compliance with all applicable regulations." Eleanor had become Robert's most dangerous client, not because of her demanding financial requirements or her charitable activities, but because of her recent discovery of discrepancies in her account statements and her growing suspicions about unauthorized transactions that threatened to expose Robert's systematic embezzlement and money laundering operations. What Eleanor didn't know was that Robert had been systematically embezzling from clients and murdering witnesses for over 3 years, using his financial expertise and access to client assets to steal millions of dollars while eliminating anyone who discovered his criminal activities. Robert's transformation from respected accountant to calculating killer had begun 5 years earlier, when his compulsive gambling addiction had escalated from occasional casino visits to daily online sports betting that consumed his entire income and forced him into desperate debt with organized crime figures who controlled Manhattan's illegal gambling operations. His losses at poker games, sports betting, and stock market speculation had accumulated to over $2 million, with loan sharks demanding immediate payment and threatening violence against his family. Faced with impossible financial demands and credible threats of violence, Robert had begun systematically embezzling from his wealthy clients' accounts, using his access to their financial systems and his expertise in offshore banking to steal substantial amounts while covering his tracks through sophisticated accounting manipulations that delayed detection of his crimes. His criminal activities had escalated when several clients had discovered evidence of systematic theft and had threatened to report his embezzlement to law enforcement and professional licensing boards. Robert had murdered his first victim, a prominent businessman who had detected unauthorized transfers from his investment accounts, by poisoning his coffee with ricin during a routine financial consultation. The success of his first murder had convinced Robert that eliminating threatening clients and suspicious investigators was both necessary for protecting his embezzlement operation and relatively easy to accomplish given his access to clients' offices and his knowledge of their personal routines and vulnerabilities. Over the following 3 years, Robert had murdered 10 additional individuals using various toxic substances that took advantage of his chemistry knowledge and his victims' trust in his professional hospitality and expertise. His victims had been carefully selected based on their discovery of his financial crimes, their potential threat to his continued operations, and their wealth levels that made their deaths profitable through inheritance manipulation and insurance fraud schemes. His victims had included Dr. Patricia Williams, a forensic accountant who had been investigating discrepancies in Robert's client accounts; Jennifer Martinez, a wealthy socialite who had discovered unauthorized access to her offshore investments; and David Foster, a federal financial investigator who had been tracking money laundering operations through several accounting firms and had identified suspicious patterns in Robert's business activities. "Mr. Chen, I need to discuss some serious concerns about financial irregularities and several suspicious deaths involving clients of your accounting practice," said Detective Sarah Walsh of the NYPD's Financial Crimes Division, as she entered the office carrying a warrant to inspect Robert's records and interview him about suspicious financial activities. Detective Walsh specialized in investigating white-collar crimes and had developed expertise in tracking embezzlement and money laundering operations through legitimate financial service businesses. Detective Walsh's investigation represented an existential threat to Robert's criminal operation, as her law enforcement expertise and access to financial crime databases could expose the systematic embezzlement and connect him to multiple suspicious deaths. "Of course, Detective Walsh," Robert replied, though he felt the familiar surge of panic and rage that accompanied any official scrutiny of his accounting practices by law enforcement officers who possessed the training and resources to detect evidence of systematic embezzlement and financial fraud disguised as legitimate business operations. "Financial transparency and regulatory compliance are always my highest priorities, and I want to cooperate with any investigation that might help protect my clients from financial crimes or regulatory violations." Detective Walsh consulted detailed reports from the IRS, SEC, and banking regulators that showed patterns of suspicious financial transactions, unexplained account transfers, and client deaths that occurred immediately after victims had reported concerns about unauthorized access to their financial accounts or had requested comprehensive audits of their investment portfolios. "Robert, I've been investigating reports of systematic embezzlement and money laundering involving several of your accounting clients, and I've also identified suspicious deaths that appear to be connected to financial fraud investigations," Detective Walsh said with the investigative precision that had made her successful in solving complex white-collar crime cases. 10 individuals who were clients of your accounting firm have died under suspicious circumstances, with several of these deaths occurring immediately after the victims had discovered unauthorized transactions or had threatened to report financial irregularities to regulatory authorities. The detective's identification of the embezzlement patterns and her recognition of the timing correlation between financial investigations and client deaths confirmed Robert's worst fears that his criminal activities had been analyzed and connected to his systematic elimination of clients and potential witnesses who threatened his embezzlement operation. Robert's response was swift and deadly. as he realized that eliminating Detective Walsh was essential for protecting his criminal enterprise and preventing exposure of his systematic embezzlement and murder spree. Detective Walsh, I think there may be some misunderstanding about complex financial transactions and the unfortunate stress-related health problems that affect wealthy individuals who are dealing with complicated tax and investment issues, Robert said, while discreetly reaching for a fountain pen that he had modified to inject concentrated aconitine through a hidden mechanism activated by pressing the pen's clip. Perhaps we could review some specific client files in my private consultation room where I can demonstrate the legitimate financial strategies that might explain these apparent irregularities. High net worth financial planning involves sophisticated offshore structures that might appear suspicious to those unfamiliar with international tax optimization techniques. Detective Walsh agreed to examine Robert's financial documentation, not realizing that the accountant was leading her into a soundproof room where previous murders had been committed and where Robert planned to poison her using his modified pen that would deliver the aconitine through a seemingly accidental puncture while handling documents. Robert's plan involved convincing Detective Walsh to examine specific financial records while explaining complex accounting procedures, then using his modified pen to create a small puncture wound that would deliver the aconitine directly into her bloodstream, causing delayed cardiac arrest that would appear to be a heart attack brought on by the stress of investigating complex financial crimes. But Robert's carefully planned murder of the detective was about to be prevented by the unexpected arrival of federal agents who had been investigating money laundering networks and had identified connections to his accounting practice. Special Agent Jennifer Walsh of the FBI's Financial Crimes Division had been conducting a comprehensive investigation into money laundering operations that used legitimate accounting firms to process proceeds from organized crime activities and systematic embezzlement schemes. Agent Walsh specialized in investigating financial professionals who exploited their client relationships to commit systematic fraud and had developed expertise in tracking money laundering operations through professional service businesses. The federal investigation had been initiated by reports from multiple regulatory agencies and financial institutions who had noticed unusual patterns of fund transfers and account manipulations that suggested organized criminal activity involving legitimate accounting and financial planning services. The investigation had focused on Robert's firm after discovering that several money laundering operations had processed funds through accounts managed by his practice. Agent Walsh had been conducting surveillance of Robert's operations and had documented evidence of systematic embezzlement, money laundering, and suspicious patterns of client deaths that suggested his accounting expertise was being used for organized criminal activity rather than legitimate financial services. "Robert Chen, I'm Special Agent Walsh with the FBI," she announced as she entered the consultation room where Robert was preparing to poison Detective Walsh. "I have federal warrants for your arrest on charges of money laundering, systematic embezzlement, conspiracy to commit murder, and multiple counts of first-degree murder related to your exploitation of accounting clients for financial fraud and elimination of potential witnesses." Robert's reaction to the federal agent's intervention was a combination of financial panic and desperate attempts to maintain his professional authority, as he realized that law enforcement agencies at multiple levels had been investigating his financial crimes and had connected them to systematic client murders. His carefully maintained reputation as a trusted financial advisor had failed to protect him from comprehensive investigation by agencies with expertise in white-collar crimes. "Special Agent Walsh, there must be some serious misunderstanding about legitimate accounting practices and the complex financial strategies required for high net worth tax optimization and estate planning," Robert said frantically, while abandoning his plan to poison Detective Walsh and attempting to preserve some semblance of professional credibility, despite the overwhelming evidence against his criminal activities. "I am a certified public accountant with 18 years of experience providing sophisticated financial services to Manhattan's most prominent business leaders and investors. All of my accounting practices comply with established professional standards and regulatory requirements designed to protect client assets and ensure tax compliance." Detective Walsh looked absolutely stunned as she realized how close she had come to being murdered by the accountant she'd been investigating for financial crimes. Her embezzlement investigation had not only exposed Robert's systematic money laundering and murder operation, but it also prevented her own death at the hands of a killer who had been using financial consulting as cover for systematic elimination of clients and law enforcement threats. The comprehensive investigation that followed Robert's arrest revealed the full scope of his criminal enterprise and the sophisticated methods he had developed to exploit accounting expertise for systematic embezzlement and murder. Forensic analysis of Robert's accounting firm revealed extensive evidence of his money laundering and embezzlement operations, including hidden computer systems for processing illegal financial transactions, sophisticated software for manipulating client account records, and detailed files containing stolen financial information on hundreds of wealthy clients. His personal records showed systematic coordination between client financial exploitation and murder, with each killing providing access to substantial assets through forged documents, coercive estate planning, and insurance fraud schemes. The investigation also uncovered Robert's connections to organized crime figures who had been using his accounting firm to launder proceeds from illegal gambling, drug trafficking, and other criminal activities throughout Manhattan's financial district. His criminal network included corrupt bank employees who had facilitated illegal transfers and dishonest regulatory officials who had helped cover up evidence of systematic financial fraud. Most disturbing was the discovery of Robert's detailed research into financial vulnerability assessment and his development of increasingly sophisticated methods for identifying wealthy clients who could be exploited for embezzlement while eliminating potential witnesses through toxic substances that would be undetectable in routine autopsy examinations. Robert Chen was ultimately convicted of 11 counts of first-degree murder, systematic embezzlement, money laundering, conspiracy to commit organized criminal enterprise activities, and numerous other charges related to his exploitation of accounting clients for financial fraud and elimination of potential witnesses. The conviction sent unprecedented shockwaves throughout Manhattan's financial services community, prompting immediate reforms in accounting oversight, client protection protocols, and financial crime prevention measures designed to protect wealthy individuals from exploitation by trusted financial professionals. Several other accounting firms and financial service providers were investigated for similar criminal activities, resulting in enhanced oversight of professional financial services and new requirements for background screening and ongoing monitoring that made it more difficult for criminals to exploit client relationships for systematic embezzlement and murder. Detective Walsh and Special Agent Walsh received recognition for their collaborative investigation and became specialists in financial services crime investigation, developing new techniques for identifying embezzlement operations and protecting clients from exploitation by criminal financial professionals. Eleanor Morrison and other surviving clients required extensive financial auditing and psychological counseling to overcome the trauma of learning that their trusted accountant had been systematically stealing their assets while planning to murder clients who discovered his criminal activities. The accounting industry implemented comprehensive new safety protocols designed to protect clients from exploitation by unethical financial professionals. The case prompted comprehensive changes in accounting regulation, including mandatory background checks for all certified public accountants, enhanced oversight of client account management, real-time monitoring of financial transactions, and new reporting procedures for suspicious accounting activities involving client asset manipulation. Robert's conviction also led to increased cooperation between accounting licensing boards and law enforcement agencies investigating financial crimes, with new protocols designed to identify accountants who might be exploiting their client relationships for systematic embezzlement while eliminating potential witnesses to their criminal activities. The accounting and broader financial services industries implemented revolutionary new safety measures, including enhanced security protocols for client asset management, comprehensive client protection programs, mandatory reporting of suspicious financial activities, and improved training for recognizing signs of embezzlement and client endangerment in professional financial relationships. 5 years after Robert's conviction and life imprisonment, Manhattan's financial services community continued to implement safeguards designed to protect clients from accountants who might abuse their positions of trust and financial authority for criminal purposes. The accountant who had promised to protect and grow his client's wealth had instead used his financial expertise and position of trust to commit systematic embezzlement and murder against the very individuals who had trusted him with their most precious assets and financial security. However, his crimes had been thoroughly exposed, and his victims had found justice through the dedication of investigators who refused to accept suspicious financial deaths as mere stress-related medical emergencies. Robert Chen's final audit had calculated his own destruction, as he faced life imprisonment without possibility of parole, proving that even financial professionals who attempted to exploit their expertise for criminal gain could be identified, investigated, and brought to justice when dedicated law enforcement agencies worked together to protect innocent clients from predatory financial service providers. The accountant's final audit had balanced the books of justice, serving as a permanent reminder that those entrusted with protecting financial assets must never abuse that trust, and that financial professionals who would steal the very wealth they promised to safeguard will ultimately face the full consequences of their betrayal of professional integrity and fiduciary responsibility. Thank you very much for listening. Please let us know what you think of this story in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any other videos.